I'm your cool Uncle Marissa, and we don't need those anymore.
So I wasn't actually planning on making a video on this. It was just gonna be a thing that I bought. But a couple of days ago, the MemCardPRO2 got a literally game-changing update, and I don't need any of my other memory cards anymore. What is the MemCardPRO2? Why did I throw everything away? I didn't actually, obviously. It was a bit. This is the MemCardPRO2, and it is from 8-Bit Mods. They have a series of mem cards they came out with. There's ones for GameCube. They'd come out with the initial MemCardPRO, which was for PS1, and essentially it is an alternative to having a ton of OEM memory cards. It uses a microSD card and creates virtual memory cards for you to store your saves onto when you are using original hardware. And I passed up on the GameCube version and also the PS1 version, but the PS2 PS1 version, so the MemCardPRO2, it works for PS1 and PS2, and that actually sounded worthwhile to me. So it's about $50 to $60 depending on what color you get and where you get it from. And the reason that I say it made it worth it for me is if you're not familiar, PS1 and PS2 use different memory cards to the extent that when you're playing a PS1 game on your PS2, you still have to use the memory card for a PS1. You can't use a PS2 memory card. And this also goes to controllers as well. You can't always play PS1 games with a DualShock 2. So Sony's always been a little weird about compatibility, even back in the day. And it was a little frustrating for me having to swap out PS1 and PS2 memory cards, and with the extent of, I think, PS1 and PS2 of my old home consoles, retro home consoles, I have the most games for and the most desire to play. So it made it worth it for me. And I picked it up, and I picked it up in white. Low-key wanted one of the translucent ones, but white is neat too. And I like how it pops. I went to set it up and I saw that a few days ago on like January 23rd, 24th, they've come out with a new update. So a while back it was a pretty set that you could put free McBoot on it. And if you don't know, free McBoot is basically the homebrew soft mod for your PS2. And so you could put free McBoot on it and run OPL off something else. And OPL is Open PlayStation Library, which basically you can put game backups on it and play without a disc. So before this, I was using 2 memory cards. If you want to get super technical about it, I was using 3 memory cards. So I have the free McBoot that I got from Helder's Tech, and it was, I later found out, like a single region, US region install. So I had to create a new one for my Japanese consoles. So it says free McBoot Japan. And then I have the PS2 MC to SIO from Helder also, and this one you can stick a memory card in it, and so you put your ROMs and stuff on this, and free McBoot is on a separate card. You know, already you've taken up both the memory card spaces, and also sometimes if you want to run a game off OPL but you want to save to an OEM memory card and not the memory card that's full of stuff, like it has free McBoot and everything on it, you want to separate those two, you would have to swap that out for another memory card, and it's just a mess. Also, I hate how OPL and free McBoot look, but this isn't going to solve that, so maybe someone will. One day. Cube boot, but for PS2, right? Anyway, so as of a couple of days ago, there is a new OPL build that you can put on this, so it can also load games off of the same memory card. And so there's like templates now, so you can set up a template with free McBoot with OPL as the base, and then make it so that every memory card that you make moving forward from there inside this is free McBooted. And so yeah, that's insanely cool. Like, I don't have to worry about those anymore. I don't know about the free McBoot Japan. I might still have to use that. This is the reason this isn't a tutorial. It's not a tutorial because the documentation for installing it and stuff is pretty clear, but the whole free McBoot plus OPL plus games files being on it thing is new, and so maybe that's why it's not super clear. But someone created a like ready-made free McBoot with the correct OPL for the memory card as an image, and I've linked that in the description. Huge shout out to 8-Bit Mods, who are the creator of this device and all the other memory cards, for creating that image. So you can just rename that image correctly to the template 8 megabyte file, because that's how you name them. It's in the guide. It'll make sense when you read it, and drop it into the template folder on your microSD card. And also OPL will populate this with folders the first time you run it, and that way you'll know where to put your different game files. So yeah, super cool. I just wanted to tell you about it in case you don't already know. And before I leave you, I also want to just give you a couple of heads up on the guide, because other than that, there was a couple of other things that tripped me up. So the guide, if you follow it in order, it doesn't talk to you about the web UI, because you can control the MemCardPRO2, and you do need to for activating things like templates through a web UI. It doesn't tell you how to do it, but then it does refer to the web UI, and that's a bit confusing. So what you need to do is you need to go and set up the Wi-Fi first. And once you set up the Wi-Fi, it will give you an IP address, and you can put that in your computer and access the web UI from there. I spent way too long looking for like a website that was supposed to connect to it, but no. So that's something to keep in mind. And yeah, in terms of the adding OPL to the free McBoot image, I didn't know how to do that. I couldn't understand where to put the ELF file, or if I was supposed to run it from a USB, which probably makes most sense because uLaunch ELF wouldn't find the file in this SD card. So I imagine you would run it from a USB drive and then install it onto here. But you don't need to worry about that because that image exists with all of it on there. And refer to the guide, of course, on what settings to change on OPL. Another cool thing this does is it can back up your games to Google Drive. It's so cool. And that's optional, obviously. I'm not someone who loves to connect all my accounts all the time. So this was one where I was like, yeah, I want to do it, but you can keep it off if you want, and you're still good to go. And of course you can use it just as a virtual memory card, but the fact that this consolidated so many memory cards in more ways than I could expect. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, get this, and you won't have to fiddle around anymore with your free McBoot memory card and your OPL memory card. This is, of course, mainly a boon to PS2 Slim, because with the fat PS2, you guys are always like, well, I just put everything on my HDD. Like, okay, and I know I have a fat one right here, but it's not yet currently at the moment in use. It's got a little OLED screen, and it shows you the game information while you're playing it, and it's super cool. Get this, get it. Thank you so much to the folks at 8-Bit Mods for making this, for giving Brother May I Have Some Mods. Thank you to everyone who supports this channel on Ko-fi and on YouTube just by watching and commenting. If you're interested in cool little things like this, feel free to subscribe and like the video if you liked it. This is kind of different than my other videos because I'm just shouting at you that this is so cool and you should get it. I'm not really helping you with much, but hopefully having a link to that memory card image in the description is helpful. You don't have to go digging through Discord for it. And also, I've linked to the manual because that will tell you everything you need. Oh, the only other thing I had issues with was FTP. It just wouldn't connect, and that's fine. If anyone wants to give me advice on what I might have done wrong, feel free, but I'm not too troubled. And one last thing, this is fairly new, so I have not and will not do extensive testing on the running of games from this. Probably, I'm sure there will be folks who will do extensive testing or who will be like, oh, this game doesn't run or this game doesn't run. You would probably need quite a large memory card, and it does support really big memory cards in order to get like a full library of stuff on there. But you know, a full library is great for archival and backup purposes, but kind of overwhelming when it comes to actually playing stuff. So that's not really my jam. But either way, use it as you will, as you see fit, or just don't. But I think it's super cool. I've been your cool Uncle Marissa. This has been incredibly unorganized, but I'm just really excited about this. And I hope that I've given you some helpful information. I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.